So the Irish government has urged Britain to show some honesty on Brexit. So this is mainly regarding the Northern Ireland Protocol, but probably could be said for Brexit in general. But I think he's speaking specifically in the context of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which makes sense considering he's the Irish Foreign Secretary. So Britain should show some honesty about what it signed up to over Brexit, Ireland's foreign minister has said. Simon Coveney, a veteran of the exit negotiations, and calls to scrap the Northern Ireland Protocol from some unionists will not be realistic, because these unionists, the only question you have to ask them is, okay, get rid of the Northern Ireland Protocol and then what? And they have no answers for it, because there is no alternative. Because either you take Ireland out of the single market, which is never going to happen, because the EU physically wouldn't be able to do that without Ireland's consent, which won't happen, or you put a hard border within Ireland, breaking the Good Friday Agreement. Those are your only two options. And, that's not going to happen either, considering all the sacrifice it took to get the Good Friday Agreement. So this is just ridiculous from these unionists, but shocker. They are a bit bizarre considering that they still want to be part of a country that threw them under the bus, but whatever. Coveney goes on, the article goes on to say, the British government says the conditions of the Brexit deal for Northern Ireland, if strictly implemented, would be too damaging for business, and claims the EU is being too assertive in its interpretation, which we know not to be true. And if the EU wanted to make it worse, they could do by asking for more checks to be carried out. So again, more stupid arguments. Coveney said that while there was a need for the EU to show some flexibility and pragmatism, ironically, it is the Irish who are pushing the EU most for, concessions, and, to be pragmatic regarding the Northern Ireland Protocol, mainly because they would be the main victims if the Northern Ireland Protocol failed. But it is ironic that a country, a former colony, is doing its best to really help the British government here, when they, in some ways, they shouldn't have to do this. They really shouldn't, but yeah. But it's just, it's just bizarre that it would come to this situation where Ireland are the ones pushing for us to, not have to. Ireland are pushing for us to have a better kind of situation with the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's bizarre. Mr. Coveney said, whilst there was a need for the EU to show, I mentioned that, the pragmatism thing, there is a need, he goes on to say, there is a need for the British government in particular to show some honesty around what has been agreed, why it was agreed, and the disruption it has prevented, because a hard border won't go in the island of Ireland, but there is a possibility that the EU would have just shut down trade with Britain. They wouldn't have agreed a free trade agreement, and you would see some very harsh sanctions against the UK. From the EU, you'd see just trade barriers where maybe they'll just refuse exports at that point. Who knows what they would do, and maybe the EU need to spell out what would happen. This is quite an interesting statement here. The Northern Ireland Protocol agreed with the EU by Boris Johnson is not definitive, says Brexit minister. So we'll digest that one when the time comes. So Coveney goes on to say Brexit is the main disruptor here, not the protocol, which is true, because the protocol is just a symptom of Brexit. It's because of Brexit the protocol had to be implemented. That's the thing a lot of people are missing. You could have done Brexit where we stayed in the single market, therefore you wouldn't need single market and customs union, therefore you wouldn't need the Northern Ireland Protocol, but we didn't do that. So the protocol is a part of Brexit, just like how your fingers are a part of your hand. The protocol was designed to limit the disruption of Brexit, he said, which is true, adding that there was a need to be honest with people and there was no credible alternative to the protocol. All these arguments about technology, all this nonsense, it's not true. Because they can't point to one country that just has technology for its borders, that isn't a part of like a single market and customs union. They can't point to one country that has that. Mr. Coveney's comments were made in a discussion hosted by the Keno Norton, I mispronounced that, Institute for Irish Studies at Notre Dame University, and reported by the Irish Times. There's a bit more here. Boris Johnson initially insisted, the checks would have a minimal effect, but the government has admitted they are doing more economic damage than expected. And that would be the government basically saying that, oh, well, it's not our fault. The EU are being purist. The implementation, what was the other one? Implementation, interpretation, all of those buzzwords. That's what they argued. That's what they argue now. But he said there would be no checks in the first place. Then he said the checks would be minimal, and now we've come to this situation because we don't have the staff or the border posts, the border facilities to do the checks that we're meant to do. So, Boris Johnson just a massive fraud. And he'll argue that the checks were meant to be minimal. However, the EU are being purist and all this nonsense, when we know it's not true at this point. Well, it was never true in the first place. That's the point. Unionists and loyalists also have concerns that the treaty brings Northern Ireland closer into the Republic's orbit at the expense of its place in the UK. And the question these unionists need to really think about is, if Great Britain really cared about Northern Ireland, why would they throw Northern Ireland under the bus in order to get the Brexit deal passed through? Is it that, most people in the UK, mainland UK, GB, don't care about Northern Ireland that much? Is that the case? Because these people are all warned that things could kick off in Northern Ireland again. These people are all warned Northern Ireland could be sacrificed because of Boris Johnson's Brexit deal. And none of these people listened. Is it that they were ignorant, or they just didn't care about Northern Ireland and still don't care about Northern Ireland? I think it's the, they don't care. I really do. So there's a bit more here. Speaking at a committee hearing in Westminster on Tuesday, obviously dates are relevant, the UK's Brexit minister, the Iceman, said the post-membership relationship with the bloc had been more difficult than expected and would be a little bumpy for some time. Is it once again because you keep taking unilateral action and keep saber-rattling against the EU? Is that why we're having problems? Gee, I wonder. But anyways, what we can see from this article is that the Irish are, sort of, Coveney is asking the British government to be honest with people, about the consequences of the Northern Ireland Protocol. The simple fact is, we're not going to. And the EU, I feel like, did the right thing by extending the grace period, but I would put a lot more pressure on the British government to admit that the chilled meats ban was agreed to by the UK to get Boris Johnson's Brexit deal through. I would put a lot more pressure on the British government. But I suppose, when it comes to, people's lives being impacted, I can see why the EU made the decision that they made. But yeah. Anyways, look, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.